Talk to me like I'm 10 years old.
Let's talk about the ratings.
The sport of boxing.
Fly overseas and get a payday.
And then there was something called Fight Facts.
And they screw up too.
Amendment to the Constitution of the United States.
And I'm not going to agree with this.
Crash competition.
So none of that shit was free.
Quick question right away here.
Good. I don't like that.
I bet you just don't want to tell me, but that's okay.
It's total horseshit.
Get that dough.
I'm still a little salty about that.
Now, who is actually voting for that?
It's a machine that...
Let's have a case.
Where are you rated, brother?
Don't you want to monetize that? Boom shakalaka, we're live. Boxrec Gray is my guest today. How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, you are welcome, and I'm very pleased to have you here on my show, and I'm even more pleased that you have such a great microphone that we can actually have like a good quality audio put out. So thank you for that. Thank you for your equipment, sir.
No problem. It helps that I have a podcast. I'm going to plug it now. Unprofessional Boxing Podcast. Just Google it. You'll find my podcast. So that's why I have a nice mic. So I have no problem because I too worry about audio issues when I record.
Moreover, you have a very nice voice, and that's something that you don't often see in the podcasting world. Especially in the like in a very like amateur sphere of podcasting where people just started out of nowhere. But like with you, like it's like you work on the radio or something. You just have that snappy, snazzy like I want to listen to you. Anyways, that was go ahead.
No, I've done like 60 episodes, so it's like I better be decent at it, I guess, if I've been doing it that long. So thank you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's like kind of like the compliment section on my podcast. Like I always start with that. I don't know why. I think it's just like because I'm very polite or something. But okay, so let's talk about you. Let's talk about what do you do. I mean, what you do is basically in your name, Boxrec Gray. So I want to talk about you first, and then we're going to talk about Boxrec and how you got involved with that.
Yeah.
The theme of this podcast will be mainly Boxrec and anything else that we can talk, like whatever. But like, I have like a couple things that I'm really curious about Boxrec, and I think the whole shtick about my podcast is that I'm in this industry. I'm in this industry pretty recently, and I'm not like a boxing guy. And I'm not like a hardcore boxing fan. I'm like a casual fan who likes to be, who likes to learn more information how the whole thing started, right? And the thing is, this industry is so little in terms of like the people who like the networks are actually very much smaller. So it's very easy to get information, and it's very easy to get in contact with people. So that's kind of like the thing about me is that I just want to learn about this industry, and I want my listeners to learn as well. And that's why the subject is Boxrec. And of course, whatever's happening right now. So anyways, let's start with you first. Boxrec Gray, how long have you been in the sport of boxing?
Oh, man.
How did you get involved, and what happened?
Okay, so I just want to start saying I don't really think I'm very important in the grand scheme of things at all in boxing, but I did start as a fan. Would have been 2000, I would say, as I really got into boxing. So I was a teenager, hanging out in my parents' basement in a small town, not much to do. My parents just got HBO for the first time. And I started watching HBO, like Championship Boxing. So I remember the card that really got me hooked weirdly is like not anything that people really remember too much, but it was Roy Jones fighting a guy named David Telesco, which was in like a concert hall in New York. And there was a fight on the undercard between Derek Jefferson and David Izon that was like a crazy fight where Derek Jefferson was winning the fight for the first 8 rounds, and then he punched himself out and he got stopped in the 9th. It was wild. And I just thought that every boxing match was kind of like that, which is not the case at all. But it really hooked me. And then I would say I really became a fan for life when I saw Hasim Rahman knock out Lennox Lewis in 2001. So I don't know, around that time when I started watching.
In 2001, I'm sorry, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
No problem. 33.
Okay. You're much older than I expected. That explains.
We'll get to that in a bit because my age and what in Boxrec editing, it's I'm young for what I've been doing.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about this.
We'll run into that.
Okay.
We'll come back to that.
For sure.
So I started Boxrec probably, I think it started, I want to say in 2000, maybe in the fall, but I didn't really get involved with the website until 2001 in the spring, because I was really into sports statistics. So dorky because I used to be really into baseball, and I was just really into stats and stuff. So I started getting into boxing. I was curious about learning the history and looking up records, and digitally there wasn't really a whole lot back then in like 2001, as you might imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And I found Boxrec. I want to say somebody maybe posted about it on another boxing message board, because I was trying to get involved a little bit. I mean, like back then there was like a handful of message boards. There was this thing called rex.sport.boxing on this thing called Usenet. I'm really starting to date myself here, but so like that was really where the communities were back then. Like Usenet was like this email based like communication, like really old. So I heard about Boxrec, and back then like they didn't really ask you who you were if you wanted to be a Boxrec editor. So to be honest with you, I kind of just like slithered into it, like, hey, I want to help you with your website. So it really started initially with just like looking records up and entering in data, because there wasn't really a whole lot back then.
But you were like what, 14 or something?
Yeah, and I didn't tell them I was 14. So you have this like teenager basically like looking up records and stuff, and like entering in results that I would watch on TV. And then Boxrec kind of, over the years, as it grew and got bigger and more people got involved, it became more of the legitimate source of information. And really it's over time, like we've morphed into what it is today, which is a database full of millions of results. We now do amateur boxing, and it's in addition to pro boxing. We could do MMA. We have capabilities to do it. We really don't want to. But like, there's like a lot more. The site's really grown, and
so let's take a pause for a second, because I wanted to kind of consider that it's a little unusual, 14-year-old guy. Or you said 14, right? Or did I say that? Okay, so I guessed it right. I mean, that's kind of a ballsy move to like, hey, like I'd like to be an editor of Boxrec or whatever at age 14 or whatever. But when you started doing that, to what extent did you feel like, oh wow, they said yes to me, it's going to be a pressure now? Like I didn't expect that they will, didn't even ask me like much questions in terms of like, who am I as a person, what's my age and all of that. I mean, you're a kid. I mean, 14, like I don't even remember myself at 14. But definitely I wouldn't be editing something official as Boxrec,
Well, that's
how did that happen?
Like, it wasn't official. It wasn't really like I don't think the owner at the time, or the owners, they're still the same owners, but John and Marina Shepard own Boxrec.
Right.
And I think it was just John at the time doing it. And I don't think he really thought of it as like, oh, this is going to be like my like grand thing. Like that's going to be a giant resource. I think he just did it. He did it because before Boxrec, he used to work for Nassim Hamed, actually. And the Hameds were like, hey, can you build this database to scout fighters, essentially? So that's really what it was at first. And he was just looking for any help he could get. And I think it was just back then, like, there wasn't really any questions asked. It was like, all right, yeah, sure. And it was just a volunteer job. I wasn't really getting paid, so there was no pressure. I would just literally sit at home, watch fights on TV, and just input
information. Yeah.
And then it turned into something much bigger than that. Like all of a sudden we're working with commissions, as the Association of Boxing Commissions. And now we're like the official database for them. So we're much more official now. So it started with me just entering in fights as a casual teenager. And now, well, when there is boxing, I get reports from the commissions. I double check them, make sure everything's accurate, and correct, and that goes in as official data. So it's kind of crazy how it evolved over the years.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Shepard guy, because I tried. I don't think I found much information. So, are you at all like in touch with him, or it's mostly like you're just like there as in like an online kind of?
Okay. Yeah.
Have you ever spoken to him?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. We've met in person. So if I started in 2001, I met him in person 3 or 4 years ago. And I met John and his wife, Marina, and John and this other guy named Dan, who I hope I'm not like outing Dan, but like there really isn't a lot of people that work behind the scenes at Boxrec, like in terms of like the full time. It's a very small operation, but John and Dan do a lot of like the coding. And so that's why people get mad about the site. They're like, why is it, why can't you do this and do that? It's like, there's 2 people working on the site. And the code is a beast. And then Marina does a lot of the work getting commissions involved and making sure, especially fights internationally, are accurate, correct, and up to the standard that they need to be counted as a real fight. So I met John and Marina, at the ABC convention in Connecticut. Like, I don't know, it was like probably 4 years ago at this point. And I think they were really confused when they first met me, because they were expecting a significantly older gentleman. And I think my appearance took them a little bit like aback, like, what? I've known you for so long. You're not even 30. Like at that point, and they're like, what the hell? I'm like, yeah, you hired me when I was 14, pretty much. And again, I'm just like a volunteer. I don't make money off of it. I do it because I enjoy it. It's sort of like a weird like routine for me.
Right.
Like I don't know if it's the most healthiest thing, but I enjoy it as like a hobby. I make money, and I don't make any money through boxing.
You have a day job.
I have a day job. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just view this as something to keep me sane from my day
For
job.
sure.
Yeah.
Hey, quick question. I wonder if we can even more so improve the quality of the sound if you'll move microphone a little bit closer to you.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Is it better now?
Yeah, I think it's better. But I mean,
okay.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right.
No, it was good either way, but I just wanted to see if it's going to be better.
No
but
worries.
Like that's what I was thinking about. Maybe that's something that I need to talk to him. But like when you said, like when I read that he was working for Nassim Hamed, I was just wondering what exactly did he do. It was kind of sounded like he was participating in matchmaking, but then like he was more like in a computer coding kind of thing, like building up a database or like.
Yeah, because he didn't really get into boxing until like the late 90s, I believe. So I think they were just looking for somebody, yeah, exactly, just to build a database, just do the computer coding. He wasn't really like a matchmaker per se, but he was somebody there to help them like record information. Like it's weird. And then that's sort of like Nassim Hamed retired not too long after that, and I think he realized like I have this code, like why don't I turn this into a website, basically. So that's kind of how Boxrec got born. It was just through somebody just asking for something for their fighter, and then it turned into something much greater. Yeah.
Okay, and so you started doing that, and you said that it's something that keeps you sane. It wasn't like it was not your full-time thing, but you were doing that. So were you kind of like pressured by being accurate and like dealing with this information, because there's a lot of skepticism if you didn't get something right or something like that? Have you ever done any mistakes?
Yeah, I mean, of course. And I think the pressure is more on myself. If anything, it's not like they pressure me to be right. It's more like I have a high standard for myself. Like I handle the United States data. There's some other people that help too, but like, I really want to keep the number of emails I get saying this result is wrong to a complete minimum. If none would be great. And I feel like, not to like pat myself on the back, but I do think like I don't get many messages from people who are US based fighters going like, hey, my record's wrong. Like a lot of times like the commission reports are just inaccurate and we're going off of their data. So it's like, that's usually what happens. It's not like somebody entered in something wrong or the wrong fighter won, but that does happen. Like we're not 100% perfect, but we try our best to not make those mistakes, because Boxrec, and I think we'll get into it more, like the rankings and what your record is on that website, like for better or worse, like can affect a fighter's career. And I want to always make sure that that data on the website is as accurate as possible. So
let's talk. Right, and so let's talk a little bit about the Boxrec's history and how it became an official record for everyone, or I guess for who is it like associated with now? In 2016, it became a site of record.
So like the Association of Boxing Commissions in the United States, they basically, there's this thing called the Ali Act, which was a set of laws passed around boxing, and one of the laws is that they have to have an official record keeper. And for the longest time, it was this company called FightFacts, which.
So let's start there. Let's start with FightFacts versus Boxrec, because this is where I was reading about. So here's I'm gonna tell you what I know. I'm gonna tell you what I know.
Sure.
So Boxrec was this indie project. People were working on it. It was fun. Volunteers, Shepherd, whatever. Like, that's what I think. I don't know if I'm correct or not. So that was like an independent thing. No one was using it officially. I mean, probably a lot of people were using it, but not officially.
Not officially.
And then there was something called FightFacts. And by the way, I went on their website. I don't know if it's still around, because the website looked like it's not a website. We'll get into
that too.
So the FightFacts was something that was official.
Yes.
All this time. So how long was it official? Like, when did it all first start, FightFacts?
Probably in the early 90s, I would say. I think they bought out another company. I want to say they bought out something like I think there was a company, they used to put out a record book called like the Computer Boxing Record Book or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but basically I think FightFacts bought that, and then it became the FightFacts Record Book. And basically every year,
Mm-hmm.
Fight Facts would send out this giant. I wish I had one in my apartment I could show you, but I think my wife made me get rid of a lot of my books. So I'll, at some point, if I find one, I'll show it to you. But it's this like thick, ridiculously thick, like 700-page book they would mail out every year with all these records in it. And so in addition to doing that annual book, they would, it's like they would basically, commissions would require matchmakers to get faxes from them for the most up-to-date information. And then they would have to show those faxes to the commission and go, okay, this is the guy's legitimate record. So it was fax-based, and they had hours of operation. So as you can imagine, when you're getting to the modern era, that is ridiculous. Like, hours, like faxing, like that maybe made sense in the 90s, but like as we rolled into the 2000s, 2010s, like why it needs to be all digital. So
Boxrec didn't have Fight Facts didn't have a website back in the, like, I would say early 2000s.
Not really. They did and they didn't. So they had a website, but it was mostly just, they used it for their suspension data. And you would have to basically, the way they would make their money was they would charge people, charge matchmakers for fight faxes. And they would also charge matchmakers and whoever to log into their suspension database, and they would get like to view it for like 10 minutes and they have to pay $5 or something. It was like silly. So none of that shit was free. I'm swearing. I apologize. Okay. But none of that was free.
It's not the worst thing that people said on my podcast.
Yeah, I didn't mean, I was like, I'm going to swear at some point. I just knew it.
Sure.
So none of it was free. And I think that was like a source of frustration in the boxing industry. And Fight Facts was supposed to basically, they promised over and over again, oh, we'll have a digital website just like Boxrec. This was their mantra every single year.
And so Boxrec was already there, right? On the background, people already knew about it, and they would use it.
And I think what Boxrec did was, to get that contract, they basically designed their website to the ABC specifications. Like John and Marino worked really hard with the ABC to basically build the site for the last few years around what they wanted. So the system for them is like really good. It's sleek. It's a good UI, and they can do what they need on it.
And so let's for a second finish the story with Fight Facts. Okay, so what happened with Fight Facts once the competitions became fierce with Boxrec, or like at what point? So they were still official. Like by the year 2012, they were still an official record keeper.
Yes.
And they were still, but at that time, how was their website? Was it resembling?
No, they never had they never had a website that they promised, and they would say this every year. And I mean, up until 2016, I think it was either 2016 or 2017, it was the year that I went to the ABC convention. Basically, Boxrec did their presentation on like this new UI and this new website that they just built for the ABC. And Fight Facts said they were going to build a website, and they promised to do it, and they just never did.
And so, who was owning Fight Facts at that time?
Fight Facts is owned, I believe, by Annabelle Miramontes, who is an IBF supervisor, as well as being the owner of Fight Facts. So
there's a little conflict there, I'm smelling.
A little. So that...
Was it a for-profit kind of a business, Fight Facts? If you're paying for everything, it didn't go to like some non-profit, whatever?
Right, yeah.
501,
I believe it's a for-profit. I don't know like how they work, but like, yeah. So basically, eventually, like Boxrec ended up being we basically got the contract to be a record keeper, but Fight Facts got it as well. So they basically had these two record keepers, which
that's interesting. Hold on, how did that happen?
They did a vote, and they decided to give the contract to both of us.
So I read on Wikipedia. I'm not gonna lie, I just Wikipedia'd the whole thing, and I was like,
sure,
I did my homework for this book.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But like I talked to actually a lot of people from different publications about Boxrec before preparing for this one.
Yeah.
So there was some vote on Fight Facts, and quotes that I was reading is that Fight Facts proved to be 100% accurate. What do you say about this? And is that and so that's why it was kind of voted to be a record keeper.
They claim it's 100% accurate because they had one advantage over all of us, which is that they directly got the commission reports. But there are plenty of errors in Fight Facts records over the years, and I've documented them myself because I have received those faxes from matchmakers, and they screw up too. So that line on the Wikipedia, I'm very aware of it, and it's total horseshit. they're not 100% accurate. We're not 100% accurate. Mistakes are made. So to say that they're 100% accurate is
Mistakes were made. I like this. That's my favorite
yeah,
phrase.
like it's just silly. It's just silly and petty. And they would always put out things like press releases and stuff about like kind of just taking a dump on Boxrec a little bit on like fightnews.com like a few years ago.
Right.
So I'm a little bit like the salt is real. Like I'm still a little salty about that.
Uh-huh.
I'm speaking for myself here. I'm not speaking for Boxrec.
Absolutely.
I was personally salty about it. And so
I mean, for the good reason. I mean, they're pretty much,
I think we
saying
were
bad things about you.
I think we were much more respectful about the whole thing than they have been to us. So
that's where I'm like not understanding that story behind it. So let's talk about this whole like feud between Boxrec and Fight Facts and how it happened and how come the vote, who is actually voting for this, and whose idea was that to vote for two record-keeping organizations to be official.
Yeah, so the ABC basically like representatives from every state in the United States. They either it's like they'll have somebody like a representative go to the meeting and actually vote on like rules and bylaws and stuff. So those are the people who actually vote. And at the time they had done this, they just proposed like a bylaw that said they were going to give both of us the contract. With
and just for the record, ABC stands for American
Association of Boxing Commissions. So it's
okay.
U.S. people vote. There are some Canadian commissions that are also associated with the ABC, so they exchange data and stuff. But I don't think they really vote on rules. I know there was like a Brazilian commission that was there when the year I was there, and Puerto Rico was involved. So it's not just America, but it's mostly like American commissions, to be honest. But like they're the ones that kind of vote on the rules and regulations of how boxing is governed. So yeah, like you said, they had this thing where we were getting the contract for the same, at the same time they were going to give two people the contract, but there was sort of like a stipulation of like, there's an expectation that we want a website that things need to be moved digitally, and we're going, we want a system that works for us. And to be honest with you, Boxrec did what they asked for, and FightFacts didn't. So eventually they had a vote. And I think it was either 2016 or 2017. I'm sorry, like my timeline's kind of sucks, but like I remember they had a vote, and basically what happened was they voted to give Boxrec the sole contract, and they voted to not give FightFacts the contract at all. So FightFacts is not the official record keeper anymore. They are not. I don't if they claim they are, that's a lie. They are not the official record keeper of the Association of Boxing Commissions. Boxrec is. We are the only ones that are. So
and what does that mean, official? What does that entail? Is that entail more money, some sort of how does this work? What does contract what are the benefits of getting that contract?
The commissions basically have to report all their information to us, like results and everything. They can't say, well, we can't do it for X reason, or we don't want to, because that was not
exchange.
Yeah, the information exchange is huge. We were often denied information from commissions for whatever reasons. It was very hard to get official results when we didn't have the contract. And yeah, and John and Marina that Boxrec is their business, so I don't know exactly the goings on behind the scenes, how they make money, whatever I know there's like ads and they do their own thing, but yeah, there is definitely like a financial incentive for them to get the contract. It is a good thing for them, so they can keep their business going now that they have the ABC contract. And now that we have the contract, we could start focusing on adding features to the website that are more fan friendly and not like the commissions want it, So that's what I think we want to go back in that direction.
But how they making money is actually a valid question, and I don't ask you to tell me how if you don't know to, but at least let's speculate on that, because the first thing I think like a year ago, I was like very into Boxrec. I had some boxers that I worked with, and I was like very, very passionate about them and their ratings. And I was like, what's happening? Why are they not very high on the rating list? Like, who's behind the whole thing? So I like starting my little investigation on Twitter by basically tweeting out, how does the Boxrec makes money?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was just like asked, and a couple of reporters told me like, hey, well, I mean, they have a website and they have ads on that. So
it's ads.
And then someone else told me like, if you're like a manager or a promoter, you can register with Boxrec and you have to pay for it. I think that's another thing.
Yep. You can yeah.
So those are two public sources of income that they're pretty much put up front. Like this is pay for ads, pay for memberships.
The ads alone have to be. I don't know numbers. It's not my business.
700,000 views per day. I think.
Think about it. Think about that. Yeah, like they have an insane amount of traffic and. They have a lot of ads on their website. So I imagine that's a big funnel. Yeah, like you said, it costs, I think it's like $30 to a year or something to list your fighter is if you want to be their manager, promoter.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And then, yeah, they have I'm sure they have other ways of making money with the site, but yeah, I know that the ads alone do cover a lot, and the
Mm-hmm.
servers aren't cheap, so it's
Yeah,
it's not an easy endeavor.
I know. I mean, it's totally like I don't. It's not. When I was saying like I was concerned about the fighters, I was half joking. I was just kind of
Oh
like I was
yeah
just curious because
yeah
I'm always curious about how businesses make money, and like the
yeah
fact that
yeah
they're doing the things they're profiting off ads and membership. I mean, totally makes sense, especially to sustain a website like this. Um, but when you say like there's probably other ways how they make money. Like I honestly don't know how else can you make money on that. Like maybe I mean it should be somewhere like if maybe people can look it up where you can see how you can work with Boxrec or anything like that. But that would be interesting for me to see because I like businesses and I like how they work. I like to know how they work, right? And
yeah.
from the business perspective, I just thought, wow, like so there's this guy, right? And again, I feel like it would be better for me to invite him on the podcast and talk about him with that.
Yeah, I would say if you really want
Yeah.
to know more, I'd say contact John if he's the one to talk. But I mean, it's fascinating. Him and John and Marina are great people. They
Hmm.
are been so very good to me because I'm going to volunteer, but they've taken care of me. They treated me really well, and they've been very kind to me. And I've driven them crazy sometimes because I'll go rogue and I'll enter and I'll think, oh, I can just enter these results in, or
Right.
I can enter this fight in Mexico, and I think I drive them a little crazy, but they've been really good to me, and they know how to run Boxrec because they've made it work. They really have. They found a way to make it work and make it successful. So
Yeah. I
my
think
hats off to them. Like,
yeah, it would be cool
yeah,
to discuss that with them because I
yeah.
honestly because there's not a lot of examples where you can actually make create a business around boxing industry
Oh
besides
no.
becoming a promoter or becoming some sort of an endorsement agent, whatever. But like to actually have a digital record and like a record organization, all that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I don't think they really planned on that being their business. I think it kind of they fell into it,
Which
and
which is exactly why is it so fascinating.
yeah, because they're not like trust me, they're not like these like hardcore like huge boxing fans. They're
Exactly.
just like
That's the kind
they
of point that
just
I got from them.
yeah, they just kind of like own a business that's boxing related, and it's kind
Yeah.
of been their life. They fell into it, so it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so we're going back to Boxrec became the system of the record. I think back in 2016.
Yep.
By that time, this was the website pretty much what it is right now? It was like with all the criticism, by the way, on the website, that it's not like fancy, beautiful. I'm on the website right now, and it is pretty good, and it is pretty fast.
It's fast. That's the thing. I know the UI. Like I think you asked John. Like I think they always want to improve UI and make
Hmm.
things better, but it's hard, man. The code that's code that's been sitting around for 20 years. Like they've been
Right.
trying to code this thing. So I'm sure it's hard. It's not easy. But
Hmm.
the site's really fast. I think that's our strength is you're not sitting around trying to pull data.
Right.
Yeah, and the site where it is now is like I think it's like 4 years old now. So right
Hmm.
around 2016 when we got the contract, the redesign came along with the contract pretty much.
Yeah, I can see some
Yeah.
some of the like improvements where the website can get is like the fancy Google features where you can start typing and then the search will guess for you what you want to type and
Yeah,
just kind of
yeah,
like to
yeah,
improve
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Um, but other than that, like it does the job.
Yeah, and I think mobile is a lot better too. They've really worked hard to make
Hmm.
it better on mobile. I mean, obviously everybody wants an app, so we'll see if
Right.
we can
Right.
get a Boxrec app in the next few years. That'd be great. But I always say like it's just things. They're it's not a big team. They're doing the best they can. So you gotta just
Hmm.
be patient. We got some good features coming out. I've been testing, so
Hmm.
I'm feeling good. I think the site. I think we got some really fan friendly features coming out
Hmm.
eventually that are going to be
Hmm.
really cool. So yeah.
So, okay, once again, once 2016 happened and they became official, what has changed for you though, as like an editor of Boxrec?
Oh man, I don't know. I just get more emails now.
And what kind of emails are those?
Here's the results. Put them in. We try and we're trying to shift to the commissions taking care of their own work more than us have it entered in for them. So they have more power to log in and add fighters and maintain that information, because at the end of the day, like they're the ones that have all the paperwork. So we want them to be involved more, and we're trying to make it and we're always trying to expand to work with more countries as well. So I think that's the other big thing is now that we have the ABC legitimacy, where we're trying to take those same high standards we have for American boxing and boxing in like the UK, and just have other countries on board and make sure everything is legit. That's all. Yeah.
Gosh, just had a question kind of fell out of my head, but okay, so that happens sometimes.
It's okay.
But with Boxrec though, the system how it works, and I just want your perspective as a volunteer, is that they actually get helps from their volunteers. So how do you become a volunteer for Boxrec, and to what extent you have control of the information, and to what extent there is a risk that the volunteer does not do his or her job in Boxrec, and which pretty much will tarnish their reputation if they mess up?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think they try now to, like, again, speaking for myself here, but I think they want people that are going to work with the commissions but aren't necessarily involved in boxing, if that makes sense. And I think that's kind of why I've stuck around for so long, is like, I've never worked in boxing. I don't work for a promoter. I'm just a guy. And I think that's probably the best type of editors, people that are willing to
unbiased.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. Like at the end of the day, like I have fighters that I like and stuff, but I know that like I'm not going to be bought. Like, so you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to do something to give somebody advantage over another. I am a fan of certain fighters. I'm a fan of certain people. But at the end of the day, like when it comes to data, like I'm there to just make sure everything's accurate. Like I don't really try and make it so that somebody has an advantage over another person. And I don't think that's always been the case. We've struggled with that way in the past. Like we found people, this is like a long time ago, but like in the early days, like I remember people entering in fake data and stuff. So it's really frustrating. So especially in foreign countries where, you're kind of counting on the word of others. It can be really challenging because you can't get video for everything. So it's like, now it's like, all right, you better scan those passports, get those IDs. We need to know these people actually were there. And we need photos and video of like the event happening. So we know that.
So there are some checks and balances that are in place.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Which include, that's an interesting point.
We had to, because.
So what else are there in terms of checks and balances? How you cross-reference information and making sure?
I mean, like a lot of the standards now, I mean, again, I'm not 100% sure, but I know like it's definitely the expectation is like, especially for countries that aren't as organized as like the US, it's like, passport, ID photos, some video, like there needs to be like, like proof that it's not just a fight happening in an empty gym, which I guess now is fine because of COVID, but like before it's like, this needs to be like an actual show with like, people, and this isn't like just something that's being orchestrated so a guy knocks out another guy in a gym so then he can go fly overseas and get a payday, which happens a lot. It happens a lot. Guys who are opponent types, they'll lose in England, they fly back to their home country, they pick up some easy wins, they fly back to England, they lose again. That is a part of boxing that I think no matter what is that's something we all know exists. It's a part of life. But yeah, people building up records in creative ways. We all know that. That's a pattern. So we try and make sure that that's like a legitimate practice.
Right. As long as it's legitimate. I mean, yeah, you can go fight some easier opponents overseas, but if it's legitimate and, every rule was in place, then, I mean, there's nothing else you can really do. That's how boxing works, because there's no a league, I would say, or something.
Yeah,
which I would love to talk. I would like to ask your opinion on that. So it's checks and balances, right? So then I would assume there's a hierarchy, right? It's not just like a very flat structure where it's just like, main guy, and then everyone's just kind of volunteering and putting information. There's like someone on top, there's like a senior editor, junior editor, stuff like that. How do you guys work? Who's checking whose work?
We all check each other's work. I mean, there's like historical editors. These are guys that are retired normally. They go and they go to the library, they got newspapers, and they enter in results from a very long time ago. So all of that work is cited. So it's like, we believe you. You got a newspaper that said a guy won in 1901. Here's the source. Okay. But for fights that happen in modern times, yeah, we all check each other's work. I mean, like there are other US based editors, and I'm sure I make a mistake once in a while. I'm sure I do. So it's nice to have another person check to make sure that the other person did it right. So we're all, we're all on the same level. I don't really view myself as any more or less important than another editor. We're all contributing in our own way. So I'm just grateful to still be involved. And I don't know, man, it's like, I think I've been doing it for so long because it's always like an itch I need to scratch. And watching boxing is like a routine for me. It's a ritual, I would almost say. And it's just a part of my life, like for better or worse. It's always there. So that's why I kept with it, I think, for so long.
I mean, but do you get, or you or any other volunteers, any perks besides just, saying that I'm a Boxrec guy?
No.
Do you get invitations to some sort of events, like, or some sort of speaking,
I personally don't. And I don't think that if people are, I know that there have been people who have gotten credentials based off of saying they're from Boxrec, and that's not good. I don't like that. I know that's annoying. Why not? Because I don't think that's right. I don't know. I think it's like
favoritism.
Yeah, and like you are a gatekeeper for putting information in that's public and important and can move the business and boxing business. So it's like, I don't know. I am friends with some promoters and I like to go to their shows and I enjoy that, but I don't expect, there's no expectation there. I don't, they're not, I don't, what I'm trying to say is like, I don't want to like benefit from that. It doesn't feel right, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, it actually totally makes sense because, you're going to use your cloud around Boxrec and you're going to like push your weight for some of the event, and then like
it feels wrong. And I want to
agree.
I have a lot of promoters and matchmakers that email me for help, and if they need something out of the schedule or they see a problem needs to be fixed, I'll just do that. But I don't treat anybody differently. I just make sure that the work is done and the facts are on the website. Like, I don't want to like gain anything from that. I don't really feel like that's right.
No, that makes sense.
That's messed up. Yeah.
It's you brought up historical fights, and I was just wondering what exactly is the process of verifying old records. You said there's like works being cited, but like how do you guys do that? How do you verify old records? And
I mean, verified would mean like there's a green check mark next to the record if you go on Boxrec. So that means that there's like a commission report and everything. And I think like everything before like 1980, we don't really verify. We just like put it in, and usually I don't think you can see it publicly, but we have comment fields that little editors can see, and they'll say like the source of like the newspaper, what page it was on. So it's all there, and it's like, all right, like that's kind of how we do it, is based on that's how boxing was reported. It's all newspaper reports back then and stuff. So the one thing is like boxing was everywhere back in like the 20s, like back then, like there were fights every day and all these little cities. Like it's kind of insane like how many boxing matches there were back then compared to now, honestly.
That's true. And those a person who kind of like, who are the people who actually do it? Like, how big is the research team with the people like the boxing historians who are going through that information, or is it mostly like an individual kind of basis?
There's probably like guys that are entering in data every day. I don't know, probably like, I mean, there's so many editors, but like
for actual old fights, I mean,
old fights, I would say it's probably like 10 or 15 guys that are like consistently still adding old fights and blowing my mind every day. Still finding things. Yeah, because like at this point, like the site's been around for like 20 years, and there's millions of fights have been entered. I'm like, are we caught up yet? Like, how is it? How are we still finding stuff? Like, it's been 20 years. Like, how is this possible? But people still blow my mind, I guess.
Absolutely. So another feature of Boxrec is rankings, and that's something that everyone loves about Boxrec, and
everybody hates.
And some people would not agree with most of that, or something like that. So it's kind of like it's a both ends, right? So, but I know personally that a lot of fighters, Boxrec is their favorite thing, is because they can track themselves and see how they rate it. They can see their opponents. It's very like the thing about Boxrec, and I just want to like give it like some benefits. Like Boxrec is really user friendly. You can really make your research, especially if you're a boxer. Like go on your phone and quickly research your opponents, quickly research yourself, go to different ratings. It's really user friendly, and it's a lot of information that I would say we're taking for granted. let's say someone would vote for Fight Facts a couple years ago, and they would do like, well, you have to pay $30 to actually access this thing. So then only your promoter can access it because he has the $30. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like the information will be very close, while Boxrec really has that information open and it's available for everyone. So that's kind of like a thing that, you know, everyone should really appreciate, that information is available. You don't have to like go through encyclopedia to find it.
Oh, I'm sure the promoters love that fighters can educate themselves before accepting a fight, right? And they just don't walk blindly into an opportunity like
exactly. That's exactly my point. You know, like they
like it used to
staying
be
informed
back in the old days. Yeah. Let's talk about the ratings.
Yeah, let's talk about the ratings.
I think what's nice is I put on my profile, like, I'm just an editor. Don't yell at me about the ratings. I don't actually say that, but I don't get people yelling at me about the ratings too much on Twitter, which is nice. But yeah, I think the ratings are a good. I think the thing that people get caught up too much in the ratings is like, again, this is like an algorithm. It's an equation. It's a machine that's being entered data. You're entering in data into it, so you cannot teach it how to feel. It doesn't understand nuance.
Quick question right away here.
Yeah.
Is the algorithm publicly available, or is it a proprietary something cannot be disclosed?
Go on the Boxrec message board, and like, I think it's in the current scene forum. There's a whole, like, one of the sticky threads is all about the algorithm and all the changes that get made to it. It's one guy that basically is constantly tweaking the algorithm, and that is one thing I want to talk about. Is that algorithm gets changed quite a bit, and we talked about it a little bit before this podcast, that there are fighters who
and great, talk to me like I'm 10 years old if we're going to talk about this algorithm.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it's basically like a system in place that predicts essentially like who would win in a fight, and that's how they kind of rank guys based on like the algorithm thinks that fighter who's ranked 5 can beat every fighter below him if they were to fight head to head. That's how it thinks.
Let's have a little case.
Sure.
Let's pretend that we're playing some new game that we're unboxing, and we start as an amateur, and well, whatever. But like we're turning pro. It's our debut, and we're like 0 on Boxrec in terms of rating. Sure. Is that because you're 0, right, when you're turning pro on Boxrec?
Absolutely, you'd be 0-0. Yeah.
Okay, meaning like not the record, but the rating.
You have no rating. You have no rating. You are just a thing. You are just the person.
So we created our boxer on this video game, and it says like, okay, you're 0. And to get through the first stage of the game, you have to get to the level to rate. What's the one after 0 on Boxrec?
Like the lowest rating?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends on what division, but like there are probably about 800 fighters on average per division.
Let's do
about 800 to 1,000.
Let's do
like what give me
168.
Division. 168. All right. So I'm on super middle right now. I'm going to page 28 of the rankings. There are 1,364 active fighters on Boxrec.
Okay, and who's the last one?
The last one is a man named Marius Petre Sorin of Romania, who is 0-47-2.
So that's interesting, right? He's 0-47, but we're talking about 0-0, right? So let's say, screw it. Let's say we're 0, and then I guess the thing is, once you win something, depends on who your opponent, you will be rated black and then. And I don't want to like go really into this example very deeply because I still want to talk about the rating, about the algorithm. But okay, so if I'm this prospect, how does this work for me? Let's talk about how do I get a rating, my first rating. What is it based on?
It's based on who you, let's say you win. It's going to be based on who you beat and what their rating was on Boxrec. So if you beat somebody who's ranked,
and be realistic with me. Who would I beat right away, right? I'd probably be fighting with one of those 0-48 guys.
Well, I mean, you could be. You'd be fighting somebody in like the ranked, I don't know, 800 to 1,300, let's say. That's usually what I see. So if you beat a guy who's ranked number 895, you're going to be rated slightly above 895 after you become 1-0. You've now taken their spot in the rankings. That's how it's supposed to work.
Okay.
Now, does it always work that way? No. It depends how you win. If you get a knockout, TKO, you're going to get more points than if you win by split decision or majority.
So let's talk about this metrics. Knockout is one. What else is there?
TKO, knockout. Then there's unanimous decision, split decision, majority decision. technical decision, draw. I mean, there's so many different ways, so many different types of results. And I mean, I don't know the rating system perfectly, but there's different point totals associated with each.
Just something that is publicly available that at least that we can know. For example, what about the number of the round? Like if you do like a knockout on the third round or a second round on the first round, is that a metric?
No, doesn't matter.
Okay. Is there anything else there?
No, I don't think so. Round. The length of the round or what round you did it in does not matter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, so far it's pretty easy. I mean, you can pretty much make it an Excel formula equation, as far as I understand. Is there? So I guess I'm not getting something else there. What else is there?
Well, I mean, like competition. Like, okay, let's say you're a top fighter and you lose to a guy rated below you. If you have a consistent career of really strong wins and you only lost by split decision to, like, I'll use an example, and I'm not going to agree with this personally, but I noticed Danny Roman is still rated. Where is he at 122 right now? Is he missing right now? Where am I? Am I looking at the wrong division? I am looking at the wrong division. Wow. No, where is Danny Roman rated? Sorry, I'm like trying to look up one specific fighter, and it's like
we lost Danny Roman.
I know. Where are you on Boxrec, Danny Roman? Where are you?
Danny, what did you do?
Danny, where are you rated, brother?
Who did you cross, Danny?
Danny, are you inactive? Did you retire? Where are you? Where is he? Hold on, Danny Roman. Okay,
let's find him. Okay, let's do
it. Oh, he's Daniel Roman. This is the thing that drives me insane is you do have to know the exact guy's name and how it's spelled on Boxrec to find him in the search. We're working on that, guys. I know that it's very annoying, and I agree with you because I can't spell. I love every fighter from Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. I can't spell Mirjan Akhmadaliyev's name. If you put a gun to my head, it's not going to happen. But like,
bro,
okay.
I sometimes still cannot spell Pacquiao, to be honest with you.
So, all right. So, Danny Roman lost to Akhmadaliyev, and that was by a split decision. And initially, like I noticed that they've changed the rating system yet again because Danny was still rated above Mirjan Akhmadaliev, and people were like, "What the f?" Like, So, but like, Danny's now rated number 12 as Akhmadaliev is rated number 11. So he didn't exactly just drop down the rankings, but he is rated just below the guy he just lost to.
Now, when you say changed, is that something changed? Well, in the formula, or is just updated? How does
Yeah, they like tweak the formula around based on feedback they get from users of Boxrec that are just like, this doesn't make any sense, and here's why. And it's really an open. What's nice about it is the formula is very open ended. Like if it can always be tweaked, and it's not something that like. I know that there are fighters who have their Boxrec ranking in their contracts and like they'll get they monetarily benefit from where they're rated, and that's like problematic to me because Boxrec.
I didn't know about that. Tell me more about it.
I've heard stories about guys that get bonuses based on their Boxrec
there's
ranking.
Okay.
I've heard
professional. Okay.
Yes.
There's a rumor that there are guys with their professional boxing contracts between them and their promoters that say, if you will have such and such ranking on Boxrec, you will have a monetary reward.
Terrible idea. I would tell any fighter, do not agree to that. That's insane. I think it's great because that ranking can change constantly, and I would never, ever base any money around the Boxrec ranking. I would not do it. Do not do it. Don't. I think it's great to care about your Boxrec ranking. I think it's awesome that there are fighters, like you said, that you've told me that from like Uzbekistan that will look at where they're rated and they want to fight a guy higher than them. That's awesome. I like that makes people want to go big game hunting a little bit and go, okay, I want that guy a little bit above me. I think I can beat him. I think that's awesome. But to worry about what number you are and get money based on what number you are in the rankings, like I just don't feel comfortable with that. I wouldn't do it. I think the Boxrec rankings are a good barometer of where a fighter's level is, and but I don't think exact numbers we're very good at. Like a guy like, why is this guy 2 and this guy's 3? It's like, I don't know, man, because the system, the algorithm that is very accurate, like if it can predict like up to over 80% winners, like if you have it predict, like when we get back from COVID, I'm going to start a spreadsheet and I'm going to show you like like, okay, the algorithm thinks this guy's going to beat this guy in a title fight, and I'm going to track and see how accurate it is. And I can tell you right now, it will be over 80%. So it's
Impressive.
pretty good. Yeah,
Impressive.
It's really good at predicting. It's a good predictive model, but I mean, honestly, what's limited about it is, say there's a fight where there's like a split decision or a majority decision, and we both know that it was a bad scorecard, that should have been unanimous, or the wrong guy won. That's ridiculous. Like, it doesn't know that. It just knows what we tell it to know. So it will assign the same, whatever points it thinks it needs to assign, it assigns. So it doesn't understand nuance. You can't teach it how to feel. And Boxrec is, boxing is a sport, especially when you score it. There's nuances to it that a simple computerized system just can't perfect. So we're trying, and I think it is a good way to measure where a fighter is, like an approximate level, but it's not perfect. So that's what I tell people. Just view it as like, if a guy is in the top 10, it doesn't matter what number he is. He's probably on that level, though. That gives you an idea, an indication that he deserves to be up there at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. And again, it's my fault for not doing my research enough on the Boxrec algorithm, and I didn't go to that message board, and I didn't look into the source code or whatever.
It's all good. That's all good.
But like, I'll be honest with you, when you said like, well, we're changing it based on, the participants' input in terms of like, well, this is not how the algorithm should be, and then it's being changed based on someone's input. That thing is, I don't know about that one, because so that means that the code basically can be, it's not like a solid thing in terms of like, it's not like a solid stone kind of thing. You just you do like a amendment to the Constitution of the United States on the several times. It just constantly gets changed by the input of other people and all that.
That's why I'm telling people that I know. And I always say, like, don't put anything in your contract if you're a fighter based around any ranking on Boxrec. That is not a good idea, because this thing is changing. It can be amended to be more accurate and better. So don't worry about it. I mean, I think it's cool if you want to fight guys above you and use that as a barometer to measure your career success. I think that's great. But yeah, like, it's not set in stone. So that's like my feeling on it, I guess. Like,
and I guess when you do changes to the code, do you just apply it to the guy who is like in question, in terms of like, well, someone is unpleased with how the guy was rated, and they started like, basically writing to the form, or so hold on, they're like, okay, screw it, the guy's actually like, that makes sense, he got screwed or whatever, blah blah blah, we're gonna put him on top. Is that just like a little plug, like a fork, or is it more of like, okay, that's the precedent, from now on all the formula will be based on that guy, and like everyone else will be treated the same way?
I don't think so, but like, when I see something that's insane, like for example, we had Danny Roman like ranked 7 spots ahead of Akhmadaliev. I'm like, I was like, I don't know what you did to the ranking, like the algorithm, but that doesn't make sense to me. Like, he shouldn't be ranked.
Well, why doesn't it make sense though? Like, why? I mean,
because Akhmadaliev beat him, and I thought he deserved to win, and Danny lost.
No, I get why it doesn't make sense, like here, right?
Yeah.
But why doesn't, like, if you have the formula in front of you, then it should make sense. Like, yeah, it's stupid, but like, that's the formula.
I know, but
so I mean, it makes sense.
It does in a way. It does make sense, but again, like, when you're a fan and you saw it with your own 2 eyes, and then you're looking on the website, you're like, there's this cognitive, dissonance.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, not everyone's gonna be happy.
So like I said, it's just something that's like, it's always changing. But to me, it's just like, use it as something for fun. Don't use it for something for business or for like, let's get super serious about basing something on the Boxrec rankings. Like, please don't. They're just for fun. Like, yeah, that's all I can really say. Just have fun with it.
Understood. Wow, seriously fascinating. I want to look into the Boxrec formula, because I'm assuming, like, just based on the logic, I think there's a lot of weighted average kind of formula in it, where like amount of fights that you won, and guess like one fight that you lost, and then weighted average of the previous one. It's like
exactly. That's exactly it. It's really competition in your past. What you've done in the past matters a lot, and it's not just what you did lately, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Cool, man. So what else is happening lately with everything in terms of boxing and Boxrec? And does the, I guess one quick question I had about Boxrec is that once a fight changed, like once the fight happens, I see that it's actually being updated very quickly.
Yep.
if someone, so how do you explain? Let's say you fought someone and then you won that. So you fought against the guy, you won, then that guy fought someone else. Well, okay, so you fought against the guy, you won, you got up in the ratings, supposedly. Let's say you got up.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed, by the way, if you win, you go up in the ratings based on Boxrec. That's I know from personal experience. Right?
Yeah, that's
right.
true.
So, but in this case, let's say you fought the guy, you won, you went up, but then that other guy won someone else who is actually a very much better opposition.
So you're saying that your win looks better in retrospect? Is that
Exactly.
what you're trying?
Because the fighter originally is actually a much better fighter.
I don't know if that's in the equation. I know that was something in the past that was talked about. So again, you'd have to. I could get you in touch with the Boxrec rating guy. This guy Martin. He does it all, so he could answer all your questions. But I know that was something that was.
Am I being annoying right now? Am I frustrating you?
No. I just don't know the answers, man. I'm just being honest. Like I've like so emotionally removed myself from like the rankings.
I know you are pretty like stable right now because I feel like, gosh, I'm like really annoying you with these stupid questions, and you're like still like answering with such nice like politeness and diplomacy. I'm like, I really respect you for that.
No, it's all good. I just don't know, man. Like I think Martin would probably be able to answer that for you. I just don't know. I just don't know. Like I know in the past we've like that was part of the equation. I just don't know. Like it's changed so much, man. At just some point, you know what I mean? You're just like, I need to be on my own island. And
right. You have your own thing to worry about.
I got to worry about my own thing. Yeah, I'm going to worry about my Twitter and my podcast and making sure all the results in America are accurate. So that's my world, man.
How does COVID affect Boxrec?
Yeah, good question. There's no boxing going on really. We've had two shows in the entire world since March. So isn't that insane? So we've had one card that was in Nicaragua, which had you probably saw some photos of that. There were people in the ring girl had a mask on. Really weird. Then there was a small show in South Korea, which I think was done more the right way. Small show in a gym. That to me is what we need to be doing. How it's affecting Boxrec, I don't know. Like I think the traffic on Boxrec is actually really strong. Like the owner told me that like when Italy like everybody was just like indoors, like he was getting more traffic from Italy than ever before. So I do think more people are on the website, which is great if you're trying to make money off of ads. Not so great though if you're trying to make money off of guys listing their fighters as managers or I don't know other ways of doing it. So I'm sure there's a good and bad parts. Now in terms of where boxing is going to go in America, we do know that there's going to be. I think boxing will likely come back in June. It sounds like there's going to be a card in Kansas. And I think there will be states like Kansas and Montana, not exactly boxing hotbeds at all, but they're going to open up probably a little earlier than some of these other states because they have less cases. And I think what's going to happen in the Kansas model is this guy, it's going to be these smaller promoters, basically, I think will come back first. And I know in Kansas, this guy's basically like, hey, I am going to hold fights in my gym. I have a system in place. I have a commission on board. And he's trying to get some of these bigger promoters basically to send their fighters to Kansas and pay him basically to put shows on. So I don't know if that's going to happen or what, but it'll be fascinating to see if that's one way of doing it. We know that we saw from UFC yesterday, Florida is back open. I guess it's weird, but they're doing their thing. So I imagine
it was good. I liked it.
I think a lot of the promoters in boxing were kind of watching that UFC show to see how it was going to go. And I mean, we had a guy test positive for COVID. They pulled him off the card. Not great, but I think as long as the fighters are getting tested and they get their results before weigh-in, they can figure it out. Like, that's fine. So I think we're going to see more shows in Florida as well, which obviously of all the states opening up, Florida is going to be the most relevant one in terms of boxing. So I think we're going to start to see some more fights in June and July. And I don't know if they're going to be big name fights or what, but I think we'll see a few cards sprinkled in here and there finally after we've been doing nothing since March. So I'm fascinated to see how it gets pulled off. Yeah, I would say stay tuned. We'll see some pickup in June for sure.
I feel like it would be a great thing for Boxrec. I don't know if they're doing it or not, but they can like take a breather and because there's not much happening, so they only have to do updates twice to the records. But like sort of to like, but meaning like in terms of the website structure, maybe like making sure like to tweak some things. I hope they're like taking advantage of that time where you don't have to like really make sure that everything is maintain.
Yeah, that's what's going on. You've hit
Oh, cool.
nail on the
Good for you guys.
Like the guy, I think personally for me, I've enjoyed having a little time off from not getting a ton of emails Monday morning. I miss it. I miss it though. I mean, I always view the boxing off season as like January. So it really wasn't this year. We had a pretty busy January, and it was pretty busy up to when things kind of stopped. But yeah, I know like the programmers right now are adding, they're tinkering with some new features and stuff. So I think it's been good for them to be able to focus on the website and make it more fan friendly and get some more features that the fans are going to enjoy.
By the way, what does UFC use for their records?
What's that?
UFC or MMA or whatever. What do they use?
Oh God. I can't remember.
Is that like a subject for another podcast?
Yeah, because like they have an official record keeper. I think I just can't remember. It's like, hold on. Let me look it up real quick. I can tell you the answer. I promise. So if I look up Conor McGregor's record on Boxrec.
If I was Boxrec, I would be. You can. That's true. You can look up Conor McGregor on Boxrec.
I think it's just mixedmartialarts.com. It's called MMA Underground. I think they are the official record keeper, but there are a lot of MMA record keeping websites like ShareDog and what is it? Tapology is really helpful too. I noticed Tapology is putting a lot of boxing records on their website too, which may be pulled from Boxrec. I don't really
Crush competition. What about Boxrec crushing MMA and just kind of absorbing all the record keeping using their freaking? No. Why not? Where's it? Why not?
No, they don't want to do MMA.
MMA rec. I feel like that would be easier. Why not?
No, we don't want to do MMA. I know the owners don't. They don't want to do. They don't want to do
something
MMA.
We don't know about, huh?
No, they don't like MMA. It's simple as that. They don't want to do. They don't like MMA. I mean, trust me.
It's business.
It's business. I don't know. Like it's bad enough. Like we're trying to do kickboxing and amateur boxing, and that is like bad enough. Like trying to find results for that.
Right.
That is good. Like I'm starting to enter in more amateur boxing stuff, and that's going to take me forever. So, and kickboxing too. I tried doing it and I'm like, this is miserable. Like it's too much. MMA, there's already sites for MMA. We don't need to.
I don't know. I need to look into those sites and see if they're any good because I like how the Boxrec works. I like how they do it. So it would be a shame to sort of waste that infrastructure.
I think Tapology's UI is really good. I like it a lot.
Cool name.
Yeah, it's a cool name, and I like their site. The other ShareDog and mixedmartialarts.com are like fine, but I like Tapology's UI. It's actually pretty cool. You should check it out. It's I think they should, hopefully they're around in the future because I just like how their records look. It's very sleek.
I'll check it out. Hey, you've been in and we're finished, so don't worry about it. But I just want to ask about you, like Final Furious. Furious. You've been in Boxrec for like 20 years, pretty much. Like in a couple of years, it's gonna be 20 years, which is crazy.
Horrible.
what's and you in your Boxrec and based on what you're saying, you're not even making money on this.
No.
Aren't you tired of it? Maybe you need to earn some cash on that somehow. I mean, you have so much knowledge and so much experience. Don't you want to monetize that? I mean, come on. There's not a lot of people who can offer so much knowledge in boxing, so much inside info.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people in the last few years that are like, "You're insane for not monetizing it." And
get that dough.
Yeah, and I wasn't really active on Twitter or anything for many years. I just kind of stayed off the radar. So that's why I'm kind of just doing the podcast and dipping the toe in. And I don't know. I think I'd like to get more involved now. I think I'm enjoying meeting people in boxing. There are a lot of good people that in the sport, so that's been great. So yeah, I don't know, maybe eventually if something makes sense, some opportunity comes up, and maybe it'll work out for me. But yeah, I've been
sound like you're not really looking for opportunities.
I don't know what opportunities there are. That's the thing. I don't know. It's tough, man. It's tough out there.
I bet you just don't want to tell me, but that's okay.
There've been things on the table that you never know if they're going to work out or not. If that makes sense.
For sure, everything in boxing.
Yeah, it's exactly. You think something might work out, but you never know. The door might open, it might not. So I'm trying to keep my trying to kind of see.
Boxrec, great. How can people find you online?
Yeah, man. Go to my Twitter account, BOXRECGREY, Boxrec Gray. Please follow me. I'm I think I'm entertaining. I think I am. I don't know.
You are.
You should you should also follow my podcast, Unprofessional Boxing Podcast. Wherever you can find podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, Spotify, anywhere. That's where my podcast is. Please Google it, take a look. I think it's pretty fun. We talk about some of the weird things that go on in boxing. So I think it's a little bit more unique than your typical boxing podcast. I try to have my own little spin on things to make it fun. It's usually just me, one man ranting into a microphone and his wild ravings, but I really enjoy it. And I'm just going to keep doing that and having fun. That's really it. Keep myself sane. So yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate getting to chat with you about the business.
Likewise. You gave me a lecture and a history lesson here, and I really appreciate that. And I feel like we will help a lot of listeners to basically understand how the system works, and maybe they will, do their own research as well. Maybe I hope they are all inspired to do their research.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, seriously, go out there, have fun with it. If you want to learn more about boxing, Boxrec's a great way to start. I love to see guys that are girls, anybody that's into the history of boxing and they want to do their own record research. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, and I will be in touch with you. Hang on for a second. I'm going to finish this recording, and then we'll say goodbye to each other formally. Anyways, Boxrec Ray, everyone. Thank you so much for being on my podcast, and good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Have a good one. Thank you. You have an excellent show. I appreciate being on here.
Thank you so much.